Hello, and welcome to my Crisis Communications case study. Today, I will review and analyze Balenciaga and its ability to effectively address, respond, and take action against a crisis of its own making. I will discuss the event which initiated the crisis situation and the internal policies and practices that allowed for such an event to occur, as well as how external forces played a role in the exacerbation on social media. I will also analyze the post-crisis corrective actions taken by Balenciaga and how these actions adhered to the page principles discussed in this course. Cristobal Balenciaga, the founder of Balenciaga, was born in 1895 and was taught to sew by his mother before he went on to Paris to further study fashion at the age of 15. By 1917, Balenciaga established his fashion house where he would become known for his innovative and thought-provoking designs that tested the limits of fashion at the time. The iconic designer died in 1972, just 4 years after he retired, and the original Balenciaga fashion house was closed. However, in 1986, the brand was revived and absorbed by Kering, a French-based luxury group which owns other notable designer brands like Gucci and YSL. The brand's current designer, Demna Gvasalia, was appointed as artistic director in 2015 and paid tribute to Cristobal Balenciaga by relaunching the iconic couture collection after half a century. The brand's marketing strategy has transformed the way in which luxury companies advertise on social media and ignited a shift in creativity towards ethereal and otherworldly concepts. Balenciaga's use of disruptive content and campaign design was created to make consumers stop and stare, while also increasing overall brand awareness and notability. These controversial takes have garnered attention of celebrities and influencers like Kim Kardashian. In November of 2022, Balenciaga was set to release its new holiday campaign. This campaign consisted of a series of photos posted on Balenciaga's social media platforms, showcasing the new pieces and attempting to catch consumer attention. These photos featured various young children, likely ages 4 to 5, wearing branded Balenciaga outfits and holding teddy bear purses dressed in bondage, harnesses, and explicit costumes. The campaign's photos sparked immediate outrage on social media, with users claiming the brand was enabling pedophilia and exploiting young children. Quickly, the crisis expanded and became trending on numerous social platforms, with hashtags like #BurnBalenciaga and #CancelBalenciaga fostering millions of shares and reposts. Such severe allegations and connotations surrounding the brand's reputation immediately resulted in a lack of trust from consumers and a distaste towards the brand's intentions. In many situations similar to this, the company will cease production on any impending campaigns or launches and focus on repairing the damage and ensuring actions to correct its faults. However, Balenciaga did not take this approach to crisis management, but instead continued with an upcoming collaboration with Adidas. This product launch was teased with advertisements featuring the new design, including a photo which was posted of the new handbag resting on top of stacks of seemingly meaningless papers and documents. However, under closer inspection, many social media users realized that some of the documents were pages from a United States Supreme Court case, United States v. Williams. This court case discusses the ruling by federal courts that it is unconstitutional to charge perpetrators with creating, promoting, and possessing child pornography. Consumers, curious and concerned as to why such disturbing topics needed to be featured in these campaigns, began to question the judgment and intentions of Balenciaga and its creative team. Many extremists even used the crisis to perpetuate conservative ideals and label the brand and its employees as Satan worshippers with devious alternative motives. The portrayal of young children with sexual innuendos and controversial topics led to widespread scrutiny of the brand, which can have drastic effects on the entire business. The expansive conversation surrounding the campaigns, including social media backlash and extensive investigative media coverage, could lead the brand to immense reputational deficits. And in terms of finances, the lack of consumer incentive to purchase Balenciaga products and overall decline in sales had the potential to negatively affect business practices and stock prices. This crisis was triggered by the release of the initial photos for the 2022 holiday campaign and spiraled to reveal underlying ethical issues within Balenciaga's internal practices. These insinuations about Balenciaga's operations led to the opening of an internal investigation into organizational issues which enabled this crisis to occur. There were many factors which led to this crisis situation, including an extreme lack of oversight on creative production and a neglect towards topics and ideologies that society deems as inappropriate and insensitive. Campaigns of this magnitude, in most cases, must pass through multiple levels of approval before beginning production. So, the lack of ethical awareness presented by the campaign and the lack of oversight on creative projects leaves Balenciaga at fault. The controversial elements indicated a need for ethical training and guidelines for monitoring creative direction. In recent decades, society has shifted towards an emphasis on child safety and exposing those who exploit or hurt children. The lack of thought towards the campaign showcases the severe disconnect between the creative minds at Balenciaga and the norms of society. Balenciaga's values consist of creativity and innovation, quality craftsmanship, authenticity and identity, sustainability, and customer centricity. By not focusing on the well-being of consumers and stakeholders who may be emotionally affected by the contents of the campaign, the brand became misaligned with its values and lost the vision of customer centricity that was so proudly enacted by its founder. Based on the information made available to the public, Balenciaga did not appear ready or prepared to deal with such a crisis. Initially, Balenciaga released a statement addressing the allegations and distancing itself from the blame. We take this matter very seriously and are taking legal action against the parties responsible for creating the set and including unapproved items for our Spring 23 campaign photo shoot. This statement revealed Balenciaga was not prepared to take responsibility for the mistakes made by the campaign, and a lawsuit was filed against North 6, the production company focused on luxury fashion media that was responsible for the campaign. The lawsuit targeted the production company and set designer, but it was announced on December 2nd that the brand was no longer pursuing legal action. Balenciaga released a second statement admitting fault for including children in such a sexually explicit advertisement, saying our plush bear bags should not have been featured with children. This was a wrong choice by Balenciaga, combined with our failure in assessing and validating images. The deflection of responsibility and lack of information gathering before providing a response and filing a frivolous lawsuit reflects poorly on the reputation of Balenciaga and the crisis management team. When the lawsuit was dropped and the brand realized the full reputational damage incurred by the crisis, the second statement was released in efforts to curry public favor and regain trust. Demna argued he did not realize how detrimental and inappropriate the photos would be to the brand and its stakeholders, but disregarded any knowledge of the documents shown in the second campaign. As an authority figure, Demna was a solid choice for a spokesperson, but his late response and initial disregard for conducting ethical practices furthered the neglectful narrative. The primary stakeholders, consumers, employees, and parents, were all impacted by the campaign. Employees were negatively affected by the campaigns, as negative publicity about the company you work for is likely to diminish morale. As for those directly responsible for the design and production of the campaign, the internal investigation questioned their ethicality, but also identified a need for ethical guidelines and employee training. Consumers reacted especially negatively to the controversy, taking to social media to express distaste by posting videos damaging their Balenciaga items and also removing the labels. Such a tasteless error in judgment by the brand risked possibly never regaining the trust and respect of consumers. In efforts to repair this relationship with consumers, Balenciaga released statements on social media expressing sympathy for those hurt by the campaign and asking for forgiveness. Likely most targeted by the campaign were the parents and families of the children involved and around the world. The inappropriate and distasteful portrayal and context of children in the campaigns rallied this demographic against Balenciaga and called for the brand to take responsibility. Additionally, secondary stakeholders were affected by the campaign, and these included investors in the brand and influencers and ambassadors. Investors have a financial interest in the state of the company, so a drop in sales or stock value might impact them significantly. Balenciaga's statements addressing this issue aimed to ease the minds of investors and provide transparency. On the other hand, influencers and ambassadors remained under the pressure of the public to make a statement regarding their ties to the brand. Kim Kardashian revealed to social media she was reevaluating her relationship with Balenciaga, while Julia Fox actively expressed her disgust and distanced herself from the brand. Efforts to provide information and reassurance to stakeholders helped lay the foundation for rebuilding trust among ambassadors and investors. Kardashian has since been photographed wearing Balenciaga and tagging the brand on social media. Other stakeholders might include suppliers and communities. Suppliers likely addressed concerns about how the campaigns may affect their business in the future, with a predicted drop in sales and stock value. In turn, Balenciaga worked to reassure these parties that measures are being taken to rectify the issues which led to the crisis. The communities affected most by this campaign are those focused on child safety and advocacy, and these groups were outspoken about the damage done by the release of these campaigns. Balenciaga attempted to make amends with these communities by signing a 3-year deal with the National Children's Alliance to showcase advocacy for those harmed. Well, that's not what that's supposed to look like, but a prominent strategy applied to the crisis by Balenciaga was to issue a statement taking responsibility for the campaign and apologizing to stakeholders for the neglectful and insensitive photos. Taking accountability for mistakes made by the organization was the first step to regaining public trust and altering the perception of the brand. Balenciaga posted these statements to their social media accounts in an effort to reach a wide audience and address an array of stakeholder concerns. Additionally, the brand attempted to tame the online scrutiny by removing the content from the internet. Since the original photos were posted to social media, Balenciaga removed the photos in a timely manner to aid in containing the crisis. The content removal was necessary to show stakeholders that a plan is in progress to amend the situation as well as express regret for what was released to the public. Balenciaga also strategized to internally restructure its creative approval process and implement changes in policy to prevent similar oversight from occurring again. To do this, a thorough internal investigation was conducted as a way to pinpoint where and how said policies needed to be revised. The brand sought to rectify the situation by interacting and engaging with organizations dedicated to child safety and the abolition of child trafficking. Balenciaga initiated a 3-year contract with NCA in an effort to prove its rejection of the ideas expressed in the campaign. This method curried favor with numerous activist organizations and aided the public in seeing Balenciaga as a humanized organization once again. Prior to this crisis, Balenciaga's social media platforms primarily utilized Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter to promote its ambassadors and celebrity spokespeople and tease product launches and upcoming collaborations. The brand utilized its disruptive marketing strategy to generate views and grow its following. However, during the crisis situation, Balenciaga failed to have a detailed and efficient crisis management plan in place, which led to the cease of brand-promoting content being posted. The initial response, released by Balenciaga during this time, stated, "We sincerely apologize for any offense our holiday campaign may have caused." The brand then went on to notify the public that legal action will be taken against those responsible for set design and production. After dropping the legal charges, Balenciaga released a public apology which addressed the issue at hand, explained the role it played in the crisis, took responsibility for that role, and reiterated how strongly the brand stands against all forms of child abuse. While addressing stakeholders directly, the line of communication between the two was one-sided, with consumers unable to comment specifically on Balenciaga's posts and updates. Following the crisis and efforts to amend the situation, Balenciaga inched towards returning to the typical content and posting schedule as before, while including sporadic posts showcasing the brand's efforts to educate internally. As a result of the incessant criticism across social platforms, Balenciaga has limited its comments on Instagram, disabling certain keywords and content. Throughout the duration of the crisis, the media interjected with news stories, in-depth investigations, and crazy conspiracy theories to remain part of the conversation that was primarily taking place on social media. However, the virality of the situation made Balenciaga's ethical transgressions the topic of discussion for weeks following the initial event. Many prominent news organizations evaluated and did case studies on the reputational demise of Balenciaga, including the New York Times and CNN. The brand and its leadership, such as CEO Cedric Charbit, did a more effective job communicating with the media, doing interviews and listing the actions he will take to return Balenciaga to its iconic stature. As stated in Balenciaga's statements regarding the crisis, the brand and its leadership were committed to ensuring events like this were unable to occur in the future, using training programs, education, systemic alterations, and review processes. The brand used various modes of communication to reiterate to stakeholders that these matters are being taken seriously, and Balenciaga's corporate social responsibility to the public is greater than any controversial mistake or ethical dispute. Regaining the trust of these stakeholders was essential to reforming the brand's reputation, as well as taking steps to improve the company's ethicality. Despite the initial attempt to place blame on the production company, Balenciaga remained transparent about the crisis and what was happening behind the scenes. Additionally, the initiatives taken to provide resources and assistance to children and families affected by abuse, trafficking, etc., furthered the brand's mission to repair the reputational damage caused by the campaigns. The PAGE principles are a list of assistive guidelines followed by PR and communications professionals in crisis situations to help them react in an efficient and effective manner. These principles are apparent in the actions taken by Balenciaga throughout the duration of the crisis and aided in its ability to formulate an appropriate response. The first PAGE principle expressed by the brand was to tell the truth. Balenciaga exemplified honesty and integrity by providing the public with a response which admitted the mistakes that were made and allowed transparency among stakeholders. Additionally, the brand integrated the principle of proving it with action in its crisis response. Balenciaga showcased commitment to change by upholding its responsibility to its stakeholders to make sure nothing like this will occur again. The next PAGE principle I will discuss is to conduct PR as if the whole company depends on it. After the release of the campaign, the public became outraged and the photos immediately went viral on social media, and it was clear to Balenciaga how severe the situation was becoming. In light of this, the brand released multiple statements addressing the situation and reassuring stakeholders that a plan is in progress. The PAGE principle of managing for tomorrow means acting in a manner that sets the company up for future success. Balenciaga exemplified dedication to internal reform and preventing further reputational damage by providing training programs and making efforts to ensure fair and safe conditions for workers. Balenciaga demonstrated an additional PAGE principle: realize a company's true character is expressed by its people. Again, by committing to internal reform for employees and providing resources for ethical business practices and content creation, the brand took steps towards reputational improvement both internally and externally. Lastly, Balenciaga, despite the severity and sensitive nature of the controversial crisis, remained calm, patient, and somewhat good-humored throughout the crisis, at least to the public. The brand's response was not as timely as it should have been, but transparent, while expressing concern and regret over the events which took place. Although Balenciaga took legal action towards North 6, any statements made were not harsh or deflective and expressed willingness to right the wrongs. Thank you so much for listening to my crisis communications case study.